missiles, a powerful component of any army that can wield them. And while most missile units will typically seek safety behind hordes of infantry, there's definitely a valuable reward for those who are daring enough to try some more risky tactics. Now, as we all know, a primary role of missile units is to soften up the enemy before they reach us in melee. You look to weaken the strongest units before they reach you on the front line or flanks. Of course, missiles are also super handy for stopping those routing units from coming back, or at least doing some damage to them before they do. But what about all the time that the enemies are engaged with your troops? Of course you can fire at them anyway, but then you run the risk of friendly fire and damaging your own troops. Enter the missile flanking tactic, a good way to get a clean shot at the enemy and reducing the chance of friendly fire. It's quite simply moving missile units out to the flanks to be able to shoot in the back of the enemy front line. It's a very simple idea, but one with a lot of damage potential. This is very much a high risk, high reward maneuver. So many missile units will need some kind of protection. Usually spearmen are the best option because they can deal with the things that would get after missile units, such as cavalry and monsters. Or Malekith, apparently. What a dick. Ruining my shot. Some units though can defend themselves. Lothar and Seaguard are a great example of this, as they're not only an archer unit but also spearmen as well. Some units may have Stalk to help keep them out of danger, or just might be pretty good in melee. But most missile units will probably want some kind of protection. Now the beauty of all this is that because the enemy front line is facing your front line with their backs to the flanking missiles, not only are you getting those free shots to the back, but it also means that any shields the enemy have are going to count for nothing because they can't use them from the back. You'll also inflict some leadership penalties to get rid of that front line a bit sooner. This can be an easy tactic for the Skaven, as they have their cheap Skaven slave slingers, who are of course not only quick on their feet, great for flanking, but that speed also helps keep them out of danger from certain threats as well, and even if they do get destroyed, they didn't cost much anyway. Or if you try this with some of the more devastating Skaven missiles, you got plenty of cheap units to help protect them as well. Ultimately though, do be prepared for these flanking missile units to become a target. And like I said, it's a risky maneuver, so do be cautious, and if you see 3 units of cavalry charging towards your flanking side, probably best to pull back. The more stealthy of units like Shades or Chameleon Skinks can also play this role very effectively with their ability to stay hidden. You can't really protect them with a non-stalk unit though, as it'll give them away. Flying units however can be useful for protecting them from charges. So is there a time and a place to use this tactic? Yes there is. Typically when you have a case of frontline inferiority. I've got 4 units of Dread Spears here and I'm being charged at by 4 units of White Lions of Trace. It's a pretty safe bet that my Dread Spears are going to get utterly slaughtered. They will need some kind of help and support. A good time for a missile flank, if you can. If things were the other way around and my front line was the White Lions of Trace, I don't really need to help or support them because they will beat the crap out of the Dread Spears. So there's really no need for a missile flank. I can use my missiles elsewhere, shoot down monsters, shoot down cavalry, whatever. So if you're considering a missile flank, simply ask yourself a few questions. Do I need to? Does my front line need to support? Is it safe? Is there a Stegodon charging down your left flank? Or if things are more evenly matched, is there a more dangerous target to you than the enemy front line? If you can effectively pull off a missile flank, you will do a lot of damage. So there's a sneaky bit risky tactic for all your Total War endeavours. Don't blame me though if you get run through by crypt horrors on the flank. I hope you've enjoyed this and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the future.